And welcome to Challenge Accepted, episode 11. My name is Bazil, your host, and I am joined to me once again by Shriggs. He is finally back. Hi, Shriggs. How are you?
I'm doing good.
Excellent. Gary, we're getting a little bit vibration from your mic again, sir.
You're being wobbly.
You're being wobbly.
Yeah, like you're fading in and out.
Okay, well,
Weird.
maybe
I'm hearing him fine.
maybe you're just. I have no idea. I don't know. Anyway, Gary is joining with us as well, or Tyramis, and hi, Jeff, as well. How's it going, guys? You guys doing good?
Pretty good.
That's
Yeah.
good. Oh
Yeah,
man,
I'm good,
it's
sorry.
no, you're good. It's it's been a week, hasn't it, guys? It's been a very very busy week.
Yeah.
I know that Tyramis, you've been working on website stuff for your work. Shriggs, you've been working on your finals and whatnot, and I've been working on house stuff. So it has been just a fun week. But Shriggs, I heard your finals went really well, and you're free once again.
Yeah, pretty much. I've got two more things to do, but I don't care about them as much as the first thing.
Well, that's
I'm
good.
gonna do them. They're gonna look good, but the capstone project I did was the big thing I had to get done. And it
Yeah,
came out
my
great.
capstone project was ridiculous. 180,000 lines of code.
That's good.
Mm-hmm.
What?
Damn.
What? 100?
180,000 lines of
Oh
code.
my
We built a system to data mine a website and then rebuild the website dynamically. And we built the entire CMS to allow like dummy users, like anybody who doesn't know how to use a computer, be able to update, manage, and interact with the website. And it sold movies. So yeah, it was a lot of work. And then we built our own shopping cart. So it took forever.
That's
But yeah,
crazy.
all sorts of things. Like it would convert media on the fly, so you could just upload a video, and no matter what format it was in, it would convert it into a Flash video, and then attach it to things, and then reset the size. And
So
it was
you were in a
really
group
cool.
with this?
Yeah, 3 people.
Yeah.
It took
I
us.
lone wolf this.
It took us 3.5 months.
Yeah, 180,000. You said, dude, that's
Yeah.
crazy, man. I don't think I
How
could.
long was each line of code?
Yeah.
That varies. Like, I mean, you can get a line of code that's like one,
Yeah.
like it could be like
A decimal
really-
point or something. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Or you could have a line of code that's like.
But still, most of them are probably pretty long.
Yeah, it's because it had to deal with a lot of DAOs, so a lot of interacting with databases and polling stuff, and I don't know. It's interesting to me, but I'm sure the listeners are riveted. Well, I mean,
They
they
are
paid for-
hanging.
they paid for the whole seat, but all they needed was the edge.
Nah. Wow. All
So
right.
I did that, guys.
I don't even know. We're getting some volume complaints here. I'm trying to check my settings, guys.
Yeah, I'm getting a wavy too. Like you're coming in up and then down and then up and then down and.
All right. Let me.
Gary, you're just plain old loud to me.
I'm always loud.
Well, it might be Skype messing with us because
Do you want
Skype is
if you
just
want,
awesome.
I can reboot this whole thing, and that might work.
Let me
Something.
let me look at certain things here. Kind of look over my levels here. Levels. Those are all set. Yeah, everything's set on my end. I turned everything up a little bit there. Now apparently it got really loud. So give me a second. Okay. Shriggs, go ahead and talk, please.
Okay, so for my past week, I've been playing a few things. I bought Tales of Symphonia
Mhm.
Chronicles on PlayStation Network, and I got Chrono Trigger on my Vita. And I just kind of RPG'd myself out last night with that plus Dark Souls 2. Because I was
Ooh.
like, I need this so bad right now.
All right. Tyramis, what about yourself?
I've been a lot. We went to Accptd games last night. It was cool. We got a board game store in the city where you go and you pay money and then you can play any of the board games all evening. So I went and played Galaxy Truckers.
Okay. Very cool. Very
That was
cool.
dope.
Alrighty. Okay, so Welcome to Challenge Accepted. Now that we've gotten all that fun stuff out of the way, this is a show about Wildstar. We're going to be talking about how we can bring esports into this wonderful game. Now, it has been said by the developers. I don't remember where they actually said it. I think it was either an AMA or just a random post, but they said that they're not going to actually focus on the esports and whatnot. They want to see if the community is going to actually enjoy the PvP aspect of their game, like world PvP duels and that kind of stuff, which is the correct way to go. Because
Like,
if
when I read your notes, that was the answer I came up with first. No big PvP or esports game got big because they wanted to be esports.
Exactly.
They did it just through making a great game that people thought was fun and thought was fun to watch. So,
right.
If Wildstar is not fun to watch, they should not invest in esports.
Yeah, I mean, so okay, let's kind of break it down here. So, for those of you who don't know what an esport is basically like football or basketball or baseball or hockey or whatever sport you want to take that's athletic and whatnot, and it turns it into a video game sport from StarCraft, Battlefield, like old school Quake, Tribes, and that kind of stuff. And we have it set to a competitive, arena or just a competitive environment. It could be a stream. It could be a giant, huge stadium like the Dota 2 Internationals that housed hundreds of thousands of people each year. It could be a League of Legends tournament which breaks, tons of records on Twitch with their viewing numbers. It could be a Call of Duty tournament in somewhere or something. So I mean, esports is video game sports that's on a competitive level. And you're like, oh well, these players must be like super fat and they don't go outside much and they're socially awkward. That's not going to be true for about 99% of professional gamers. You're going to see them very, very athletic, very, very, I guess skinny is I guess the politically correct term. They're very in shape. They eat very well, and they pretty much exercise and treat their body like a professional athlete would if they were playing football. Obviously, not as much as grueling exercise as those athletes are going to do because they're using their hands and their mind as more of their competitive weapon than their bodies. So it's a lot different, but at the same time, it's very, very, very enjoyable and a really, really fun experience. I know that Shriggs, you followed Guild Wars 2 for a little bit. Was there any other esports that you followed that much?
Yeah, I mostly watched your stuff, but I did watch some of their esports events.
Okay.
I know I watched the PAX esports event.
Oh, okay. Yeah, PAX, DreamHack, all those events are just really, really good. Now, Tyremus, I know that you follow StarCraft 2 a lot. Is that pretty much all you follow then? Unmute your mic, Tyremus. You're muted.
Oh God.
No, you're muted.
I muted it because I was testing the volume on that stream to see why getting wavy Baz. Shriggs comes in 5, but Baz for me is just going up and down.
Weird.
But yeah, no, I like StarCraft. It's fun. It's space chess.
Right.
I'm not the greatest in the world at it, but
space chess. That's awesome.
But yeah, I don't know. As for sports, I watched the World Championships, which was really entertaining. Since I can kind of watch it while I'm working. So.
Yeah. It's like as far as esports go, do you guys see this game jumping at all into the esports scene, or do you think that we might have to wait a year or two for it to really kind of take effect? Because WoW didn't really take any esports effect until arenas were introduced, and they weren't really introduced until they got, like really big and people started getting into them. So, if we go down the Blizzard route, which is the correct way to do it, is just let your game be there and let the community completely build on that foundation of competitive gaming, then it's going to be a huge success. Look at Hearthstone, for example. That's a completely RNG-based game. Like, there really isn't a lot of skill to Hearthstone. It's easy. Like, for goodness sake, I'm climbing the ranks with a Zoo Warlock deck, which literally takes no skill to play. I just drop a bunch of one-cost minions and win. It's stupid. But that game has developed into a huge esports scene because the community wanted it to be, not because Blizzard's like, we're going to design a game for esports. Blah, 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 blah.
Well, they designed the game for money.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, esports money, it does run hand in hand. I mean, there's big sponsors for Korean teams. Coca-Cola is one of them. I know Nike has a couple sponsorships. Like North America, the sponsors are going to be like Kingston HyperX, Razer, Rocat, all that stuff. Like it's going to be like gaming companies. But like overseas, where Korea is and the Chinese, that's like they get out of military service for that for being a professional StarCraft player in Korea. Like that's huge. That's how big.
Channels devoted to StarCraft 2 plays.
Yeah. They have TV channels dedicated to that stuff, which is just huge. So having a genre that big and trying to get Wildstar in there, I think the best way for the community to go about it is just do what we're doing now, talking about it, planning about it. I mean, Warplots is going to have the first dueling tournament this Sunday, I believe, and they're using the dueling arena that's in the housing in the housing plots, which is awesome. I mean, that's one members of the community doing something and really kind of putting their foot out there, going, hey, if is this going to be popular? Is this going to be a thing? And they're going to try and shoutcast it. And you know what? It might not be the best, but it's a building block. I remember the first time I shoutcasted something. It was back in Quake, and I was awful. I didn't know anything about the game. I was just yelling and screaming and getting excited for kills. You know what? That's what you need to do to get the audience excited for the game. Because if your commentators are boring as crap, no one's going to watch. No one's going to care, and it's not going to go anywhere. Tyramus, as far as longevity goes, for an esports scene, what have you found that StarCraft does right?
No, StarCraft has a lot of because the variable to win is the skill curve in the game is so ridiculously high.
Right.
That's really what keeps people it's because it is kind of like chess, where you can have that you can have a game that can flip back and forth, and it's really hard unless you're a pro to really tell what's going to happen. It's not very predictable. Certain games, you can find that they can become very predictable really quickly,
mm-hmm.
and it's that character is going to win, or this is not balanced very well. I mean, League of Legends is a good example of balancing and attempting to do it right, and they've done a really wicked job of it, and
right.
Hundreds of characters, and they still doing it, and that's a huge deal because you have to make sure that the people playing the game and the way that you're playing is exciting for not only the audience but the people playing it. So
right.
It's not dull in any way. And I mean, there are certain games I tried to watch WoW for esports, and I found that it was a little hard. I mean, the arena stuff is really neat, but their PvP in WoW is very randomized with a lot of the dice rolling and things like that. So there's minimal skill involved. I mean, there is skill, but not on the same level that you get from say League of Legends. And I mean, Wildstar is a good example of that, because they use a skill shot system that gives people the ability to do things
mm-hmm.
to affect the battle in a way that is not predicted by, this person's skill is more powerful, or they hit that button at the right time.
Right. Yeah. No, I would definitely agree. I mean, it's like the difference between World of Warcraft and Wildstar Arena is going to be that skill shot that okay, you actually have to aim things or else nothing happens. In World of Warcraft, as a healer, you could just kind of sit there and press 1-2 1-2 and keep everybody alive, and occasionally pop your anti-stun and bubble, and you'd be fine. In Wildstar, it's more of a, okay, I have to react to his reaction, who's reacting to my reaction, and the cycle goes on. So, and every class has a CC break. There's obviously going to be trinkets for that, or gadgets as they call them in Wildstar. There's gadgets that heal. There's gadgets that do a bunch of other really cool stuff. So that's going to play a factor in the competitive scene, bearing that those are actually allowed into the arenas. Now, I'm not level 50, so I don't know about. I'm just kind of speculating here, but I can only assume that they're going to add PvP gadgets and that kind of stuff, just like pretty much all the other competitive MMOs did. Now, Shriggs, since you and me came from Guild Wars 2, which is the most recent MMO that we played. And they did the incorrect way. They tried forcing esports on everybody, forcing the scene to be like, oh, you must go into esports, blah blah blah. And what that did was just completely kill their PvE scene and completely kill the PvP scene as well. Now, from someone who wasn't on the shoutcasting team, as a spectator, how did you see it diminish the game further instead of strengthening the scene?
Well, what I saw was the PvP scene just kind of slowly died off. It's like every time we moved to a different server, the Heart of the Mist would get emptier and emptier and emptier and emptier as patches went on, because they added in more functionality but not more playability, like with proper maps and different game modes and balance.
Yeah.
Which they desperately needed to get right in that December patch and then botched it.
Let's not even go there. That was a pretty bad patch, but yeah.
I think though, like World v World is not the right kind of mechanic for esports.
Well,
I mean,
we're talking strictly SPVP.
Yeah.
PvP.
World versus World is not a spectator sport. There's two.
Whoa, look at these big numbers of groups and stuff, and this will make fun videos.
Yeah, no, we're talking strictly the tournaments that they did, the big ones that they did in certain conventions and that kind of stuff. So I mean, it really took the core aspect of what esports should be and turned it upside down, shook everything out of it, and they're like, okay, we're going to start over, but do it this way instead because we think it's going to work this way. And I mean, the old saying goes, "What if it ain't broke, don't fix it." I mean, like Shrigg said at the beginning of the show, any scene that wants to be an esports scene has to not be an esports scene, which kind of sounds really counterintuitive, but it
needs to grow into it.
Yeah, it definitely does. It has to grow into it. You have to make sure that you are allowing your players to first get the core game under their belt, enjoy it, and then go from there. Because I think that was probably one of the reasons that Blizzard didn't implement arenas until very later on, because people still haven't been able to clear 40-man Nax or 40-man AQ or AQ20. They were still trying to enjoy the PvE aspects of the game. So once that happened, they're like, okay, so people have enjoyed Sunwell, people have enjoyed all this stuff. Let's add arenas. And if I remember right,
come in before Sunwell?
I think arenas. I think it was a big patch for like PvP, and then the next patch was like Sunwell and stuff, right? I don't remember the timeline. It's been so many years.
I thought arenas were early into Burning Crusade.
No,
they were in Burning Crusade. I played them prior to.
They weren't they like halfway through Burning Crusade's lifespan? I don't remember, but
No, I think it was at the beginning of Burning Crusade or just at launch, because
no, it was not. I know it wasn't.
Areas.
I know it wasn't. Well, no, yeah, they had like the open world
like
arena
in Blades
areas.
and Mansion and Mountains, they had the actual arena space built there, and then I'm pretty sure you could do it like at launch. They might not. I think it was ratings that they didn't add until later.
No, arenas were pre-Sunwell, Jersey's saying, and yeah, it was arenas then Sunwell. So,
Sunwell was the mini patch the mini expansion between Burning Crusade and Wrath.
No, that wasn't the mini expansion. I don't remember. Whatever. Yeah, the
point is arenas happened.
Yeah. The point is arenas happened, like what was it, 4 years down the road or something. No, it was 3 years, and then Burning Crusade came out, and it allowed the scene to go, hey, this is a really, really cool competitive kind of area of the game. Let's see if we can actually make it into something like StarCraft is, like Call of Duty is, like Halo is, because people were eating it up at the time. Like MLG was like this huge new thing, and it was awesome to watch all these gamers get together, no matter what they looked like, where they were from, and just have a good time and play competitively. So the MMO market was like really, really good at the time, and bam, WoW Arenas came in, and we had a lot of really good competitive games for a while, and then eventually, balance didn't really happen very well. The meta never really changed, and it just kind of died off. So, what Carbine can kind of take from both Blizzard's experience and Arena's experiences: don't rush the scene, don't force it, because if you force it, like they said they're not going to, which is just such a smart idea, don't force it. and let your community drive where the scene actually is going to go. And if there's not going to be an esports scene, it's a shame, but there'll still be a small community of people that still enjoy it and still push for it. Shriggs, do you think that Wildstar has a chance to actually make it into, say, like an MLG
Yes.
event or
Here's
something?
what needs to happen. The casters need to learn how to cast a Wildstar game, since this is so radically different from other MMO combat systems. And by that I mean, probably what's going to need to happen is they need to be able to cast with the telegraphs on either off or low opacity, recognize ability attacks as they're going out, and determine the key players in each big engagement, because that's going to be more important than any other game to date. It's like whenever a big scuff is going to happen between 5-on-5, the announcer's going to have to determine who is going in first, who are the key opponents to keeping everyone alive, whether it's a healer or a stun breaker or a guy soaking up all the hits.
Right.
So like in this game, you can actually tank if you're smart about blocking stuff, because like say with the engineer abilities to fire off rockets, some of them when they hit a person, they stop there and hit that person. If someone's blocking the engineer, he stops a bunch of that AoE.
Right. Yeah, and you bring up a very, very good point. Okay, so from a shoutcaster's perspective, shoutcasting Guild Wars 2 was a pain in the butt because they never gave us any options to lower the pixels, lower any of the crazy clutter and butterflies that you would see whenever two people started fighting. It was just colors everywhere, and you're just like, oh my gosh. So
I taste colors.
So training yourself to shoutcast that game was very, very difficult, and the problem was the biggest problem was, stop making it look like you're freezing, Shriggs. Dang it! the biggest problem was from a normal person viewing the game that doesn't really play very, very often, doesn't really do PvP and just kind of PvEs, had no idea what was going on. So even when the commentator was on his game and was able to explain what was going on, the main issue with that game in particular is you could not see anything going on. So Wildstar is going to have to do that really odd balance of getting the correct amount of pixel to non-pixel kind of viewing ratio, because like in World of Warcraft, the spells were very easily recognizable. You could tell exactly what they were casting. In StarCraft, you know exactly what they're doing because everything is very visual. Everything has a set, look. In League of Legends, a lot of the spells are very visual. That's not cluttered. Now, some may argue that League of Legends does have a bit of a problem when team fights happen because everyone just kind of blows their ultimates and everything goes crazy, but you can at least still tell what is going on because everything is very, very well defined. Dota 2, same principle. Now, in 5 versus 5 arenas, I think it's going to be a little bit more difficult because that's going to be a lot of things happening all at once. And the current arena that we have now, I don't think is very well suited for a 5 versus 5 match. I think it's too tiny, and obviously they're going to have more arenas planned. They're going to have way more larger scale battle arenas for us to use.
Garrett, you want to post that Imager album with all the new Battleground images and stuff?
Yeah.
Yeah, it was.
Yeah, show that to the chat. There's a bunch of cool stuff on the way.
Yeah, it was posted on Reddit, wasn't it?
Yeah.
I got it.
So what's going to be coming up in chat is a bunch of new maps for arenas and such for Wildstar, and they look phenomenal. Tyramis, as far as the clutter goes and seeing what's going on from a bystander perspective, how do you think Wildstar rates in terms of that perspective, and what can be done to drastically improve, say, a 5 versus 5 match?
What do you mean by improve?
As far as like visibility to a spectator who doesn't know anything about the game.
I mean, like if they threw in some kind of like flight mode for somebody that could go into an arena and then watch, I think that would be great for like recording and camera. But if you're just kind of like watching, or like I guess the only way to really watch without doing that, or just if you're watching other people record. I mean, there's mechanics that have to be in the game if you're going to have to do it from a truly spectator sport perspective.
Right, that's true.
But without that, I mean, if people are wanting to do it ahead of time, they need people recording on both sides, and two people recording on both sides, whatever their support is and whatever their main attack is, or like whatever's going in and whatever's staying behind. So you got two camera angles on each side,
Right.
and then you can kind of flip around and then do what you need to do.
Mm-hmm.
I'm curious to see how it'll work out. I think the game has the skill curve to be able to do esports, and I think that we should be able to cultivate that kind of a community. I'm just not sure how to get people interested without having those mechanics ahead of time, because it's going to be really hard to get people really into something that seems kind of like jerky and all over the place. Like if you watch arenas right now, you watch them do the arena on their like live stream, like when they were doing the battleground, and they were 3v3 or something, or 5v5, and it was rather difficult to follow what was going on because there's a lot of obstacles in the way, and they'd run around a corner, and I mean, all of a sudden the screen is useless to whoever's watching it.
Right. No, yep, that's fair. Okay, so your main thing would be visibility and making sure the camera in the spectator mode, when it's added or if it's added, is fluid and smooth.
Yeah.
Okay. And you know, that was something that Blizzard did absolutely correct, because their spectator mode was spectacular. I mean, it's a Blizzard game. Pretty much everything they do inside of esports is going to be very good because they've had a lot of years of practice. They've had a lot of training, mistakes, and things to go off of. Now, okay, so just a quick kind of tidbit here. I'm going to be using ArenaNet and Blizzard a lot because they're the two kind of MMOs that tried the esports, and one succeeded, one didn't do very well. So if you feel like I'm picking on one or the other, that's just the way it goes.
I think though, like Blizzard had their StarCraft community to leech off of when they started.
That's fair. Yeah, exactly.
And whereas like Guild Wars, they were really trying to jump on the same bandwagon, but it just wasn't there. Like the community of players is much larger in WoW, so there's at least something that somebody can kind of grab out of it, and but. They really had the tools to make it seem professional, and they could throw money at it. Whereas Arena just did not have that ability.
Well, another problem with the way Arena handled it was they didn't listen to their community very well, and that's something that Carbine does very well, is listen to their community. I mean, just today we got a post from Cougar, which. Detailed, was it Cougar or was it?
Yeah, it was Cougar.
Oh yeah, which detailed how they pretty much run their like QA testing and kind of some of the inner workings things. You don't see that anymore. That's like a complete wait, you're sharing this information with us? Like there was no need to share this information with us, but they did it anyway to allow the community to say, hey, this is what we do. There's a lot of good fixes in this patch, which, by the way, if you haven't patched your game, you need to. A patch did happen.
I'll just take care of that real quick.
Yeah, don't do it while we're live, though, because your webcam will go crazy. So, I mean, Nogoth actually says in chat, but now Scooter's leaving. Now, it's I've been personally following the guy since Star Wars: The Old Republic, and he's a great guy, good community manager, and obviously he's leaving because life happens. That sucks. But I think that he's trained them well enough to go, okay, we're going to be very open and honest with the rest of the community from here on out. I mean, Tony's going to do a great job. I mean, he was an excellent community manager over at Firefall, and I think that we are going to see some really, really good stuff come out of the new community management team. I mean, it sucks that Scooter is leaving. And we wish him all the best, and God bless his efforts and everything. But I don't think we need to worry too much because they've been trained by one of the best community managers in the industry for years now, and they know what works, they know what doesn't work, and so far we haven't seen them be really, really kind of skeptical on certain answers. They've always been very open and honest. Obviously, with this relating to esports, they're going to have to be a little bit more closed off to the community a little bit because when you're dealing with an esports scene, you can promise a cool tournament, but tons of things can go wrong, and it can be canceled just like that. So with with having that curve of esports and having the curve of being open and honest with your community, they're going to have to find that kind of really, really good balance. And I think Valve is an excellent example of a very, very good balance. As far as professionalism goes in esports, this is kind of the next thing here on our topic list here. As far as professionalism goes in esports, we're going to talk a little bit about what not to do and the correct responses to kind of handling situations. Shriggs, what has been the biggest blunder in esports that you have personally seen that has either destroyed someone's reputation as a player or as a event organizer? If you can't think of anything, that's fine.
Well, I think the big thing is trying to be funny when you're very, very not that.
Yeah, yep. I would definitely agree with that. I was guilty of that when I first started shoutcasting. I tried to be funny.
I beat you over the head with a club.
No, you did.
You learned your lesson.
Shriggs was actually like, dude, you're good at shoutcasting. Just don't be funny because you're really not that funny, and that's totally fine. I'm not. My humor is pretty dry and it's just not good. I'll tell. Yes.
You're giving yourself way too much credit there.
Oh, darn it. Okay. I'm one of the guys that tells a joke and laughs hysterically at myself, and everyone's looking at me like, that wasn't funny at all. I'm like, dang it, it was funny to me. Why aren't you laughing? Okay, so you think that the biggest mistake that someone can make is try to be funny when they're not, which is a very, very good point.
They try to force entertainment into their informational shoutcast.
That's fair. Okay, that's a very, very good point. Tyramus, same question goes for you. What have you seen some of the biggest blunders in StarCraft that has ruined someone's reputation or a event organizer's reputation?
I mean, I haven't run across some of them. I know there were some headliners with like big, huge things where like equipment didn't work or things like that. But for the most part, I stick to I have limited time, so I stick to watching a lot of the World Championships. And,
that's fair. Yeah, that's fine.
And those seem to go off without a hitch.
Mm-hmm.
With as respect to I don't know, what you don't want to do. I don't know. You just want to be prepared. You want to have a backup plan. If a team member can't play or something doesn't happen, you have to have something to show the audience. So you have to have some plan in place to be like, oh shit, what do I do now?
Right. That's fair.
Most of the time when you have people they're expecting all of the players to show up, they're expecting all of these things to happen, and then something stops that from happening. And then all of a sudden the game's delayed, and you're sitting there and you're waiting, and the audience is waiting, and things like that. And that just never goes over well.
No, it doesn't. Some of the biggest blunders I can think in esports is Idra, as some people call him. He was a very, very prominent figure from Team Evil Geniuses in the StarCraft community. He started in StarCraft 1, just an excellent player. StarCraft 2, he started to kind of go downhill. He had some mental kind of confidence problems. And Idra, okay, so as far as professionalism goes, don't be a dick. That really needs to be the tagline for esports. Esports, don't be a dick, because that does not get you anywhere.
That's general internet rule number 1 that no one follows.
Well, it's more apparent in this scene and in this industry, because if you're an asshole, you will be labeled as an asshole the rest of your career. I don't care who you are, what you did, or if you just made some simple joke. The internet never forgets. I mean, Total Biscuit told someone to get cancer once because he was just livid at somebody. That will stick with him for the rest of his life, literally, because. Yes, I know the video. I know the irony in that statement.
Probably not the best example to bring up.
No, it is. It is because he is such a well-respected member of the esports scene and of the gaming community in general, and that screenshot will never go away. That is on the internet, and he has posted that himself a few times just to, make the trolls shut up. So don't be a dick. Don't be an asshole. Idra was known for being a bad-mannered player or BM, and I have a huge amount of respect for the guy. He's still one of my favorite esport players to date. He was really funny, he was honest, and he was blunt, and I respect that from anybody in any walk of life. I'm the same way. I'm very honest, very blunt, blah, blah, blah. No, Goth, come on now. And he started saying a lot of just questionable things to people and to players, and it got to the point where EG finally had to say, you know what, you're fired. You can't talk like this to our fan base and your fan base anymore. Essentially, he said, I get paid to be a something to you guys, and it's beeping awesome. And you can't say that. That's not professional. Like the whole like professionalism thing is a lot higher than is in, say, like sports, like football or baseball or stuff. People can do whatever they want and they just get away with it for some reason. I don't understand the whole, oh, I can do this, I'll just get a fine, and I can still play. People that do that in esports usually have their career ended by that. Nani
Because people in esports don't make a lot of money.
Actually, they actually make quite a bit of money well, no, they don't, because the industry is not skewed in a way where it's, hey, you're gonna not do anything for a year and a half. Here's $14 million. In esports,
here's another thing.
Yeah,
esports
go ahead.
Is not nearly as big as traditional.
That's true.
Sports.
It's still getting
It's
its
still big,
steam.
but if someone's ruffling feathers, they kind of got to get rid of them.
Yeah, I mean, it's a very
It's like a very meh kind of thing.
Yeah, it's a very slippery slope because of the way that people
I
have.
don't like that phrase.
Well, slippery slope. It happens. I think that the biggest difference in professionalism when it comes to esports is if you're a dick, it will probably ruin the rest of your career if you try and do into other games. Like the fighting scene, for example, that had such a horrible reputation back in the 90s of sexism and that kind of stuff. It was awful. Like I remember just hearing stories after stories from women getting harassed because the guys were just such pigs there. And now it's starting to slowly get a better reputation. Quite frankly, probably thanks to Super Smash Brothers, in my honest opinion. But it's taken them 10 years to completely build up a better reputation than what they had in the 90s. I mean, that's a big deal. So if Wildstar can keep a professional level and go into the esports scene and continue to have that, like StarCraft, like Dota, those are really the two only scenes that are really kind of have stayed professional their entire careers. I mean, sure, they've had issues, they've had bumps along the road, but so is any scene in esports. But the difference is if you stay positive and you listen to your community and you're able to keep that professional level to a all-time maximum high at all times, you will go places. And yes, no goth, there is still fighting games. Super Smash Brothers, Street Fighter, those are still very, very huge, actually, which is really, really impressive if you think about it.
Every other day they pop up on the Twitch stream.
Yeah, they're everywhere. I love watching competitive Super Smash Brothers. Are you kidding me? That's like the most enjoyment I'll get out of any fighting game. It's just, you're like, I thought I was
Super
good.
Smash Brothers is just fun.
Well, it's funny because like I thought I was like the king of Super Smash Brothers when I was a kid, and I was like, wow, I didn't know my character could do that, or I didn't know you could actually do that with bubbles and throws, and like it's crazy. So I think that if Wildstar wants to have a competitive scene, they need to stay professional, and they need to pretty much adhere to the level of professionalism that Carbine has shown. Tyramus, I know that since you work in like the huge kind of business industry with like coding and stuff, how like is the professional scene there pretty standard for like on a business level? Because I mean you're essentially all nerds. So like how does the professional scene there differ to say something that's in more of a corporate setting like at Chevy or something?
Okay, what? I lost your question
Really?
in your ums and whatnot.
Okay, so I'm asking because since you work in a business that has to deal with a lot of coding and you're essentially all nerds, how is the professional level at your workplace different than, say, the professional level at a workplace that doesn't deal with a lot of, I guess, nerdy employees? Is what I'm asking.
I mean, like, it's a little bit different at my workplace because we're not like there's only two of us that can do computer stuff. So like the rest of the staff they do other things. It's a little bit different. Geeks tend to be more open when they talk and stuff like that.
Right.
It's a little bit different. But I mean, like I worked at a computer store where it was just like 10 gamers. it was like hanging out at LOL.
That's fair, yeah.
But it's people. Certain people are different, and I mean their communities reflect that, and we have a different like internet people have a little bit different of an idea of what community means and how they interact with community, and that's changing though. I mean, partly because the shift in the paradigm of like
right.
who knows who's like on anonymous posting really was what it comes down to, and a lot of major companies like Google's a good example with Google Plus that just freaking shut down. They were forcing you to use your real name and things like that, and that whole shift is really affecting how anonymous posting is happening and what you do and how you interact in games. I mean, like Blizzard did the whole thing with the whole real ID and everybody freaked out. And I'm on the side that like if you don't want to tell people what you're doing, you should be able to be anonymous if you want to on the internet.
Right.
But I mean that's a farce in itself, right? Like you're not
it's
you're not ever anonymous. People can find out if they need to. So it's interesting, and I mean, people who are the product of that age growing up are a lot different than people who are younger and growing up in the age where they know a little bit more about internet security.
That's fair. Yeah, I mean, I think that's a very good point. It really kind of has that, I guess, balance with the esports professionalism and say a regular business professionalism, because the two merge eventually. Like eventually you're going to have some sort of business to run big tournaments and big events for Wildstar, unless Carbine's just like, hey, we're going to be like Blizzard and just pick it all up ourselves and we're going to be awesome, which would be sweet, by the way. But I think for Carbine to, I guess, keep that level of community interaction, which also kind of has to deal with that professionalism level. What are you smiling at, Triggs? What is so funny?
I found the Oklahoma State Courthouse is going to have a new monument built for it, apparently.
What the heck is that?
It's a satanic statue. Oh my god, I remember hearing about the story a couple months ago, but they actually made the thing.
Oh my gosh,
awesome.
You live in the best country or state. That's funny.
Like, well, you know, if the Ten Commandments can be there, you gotta let them do.
Wow. And this is why you guys get a lot of tornadoes. This is exactly why. See, Tyremus is up in Canada just fine because he doesn't.
It's gonna stop the tornadoes. We've had the Ten Commandments thing up there for years and still have tornadoes. This will stop it.
Okay, sure, yeah, whatever. All right.
Post it in chat.
No, I'm not posting that in chat.
There you are.
Oy
Gary,
vey.
do it.
Oh my gosh. All right. Anyway.
No.
Okay, so. Oy vey.
I digress.
Okay, so Tyremus, why is a community important in esports?
I mean, like, communities in any kind of collective gathering sense are important.
Well,
and that's
okay.
what it is. I mean, like, the point is that you need to have people interested in wanting to be there, interested in wanting to participate, interested in wanting to watch, and interested in wanting to throw. Like, they want to be able to do it. I mean, you don't have a community without those things. And part of that community is communication. Like, how do these people get interested in it? I mean, like, it's social media. It's like, it's the game. It's they're all interested in the same thing, and they
Right.
want to have some kind of competitive aspect to that. And I mean, where are you going to get that competitive aspect of Wildstar? I mean, you can race people with guilds and try to be the first to finish a raid, or do all those things. But I mean, there's still that player versus player aspect, and that needs a certain kind of community to develop a sport out of it.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, that is a fanaticism that you get out of wanting your team to win, or wanting your favorite character to win, wanting your player to win, and driving the difference between having somebody who is not just the character. Because the problem with some MMOs is like, people see it and they see it as like, oh well, ZX9_20 is the guy playing today, but it's not just about that. And they've done a really good job in StarCraft of humanizing the person behind the screen.
Yes.
And that's a big deal. That you have to be able to go like, this is my player, and I want to see them succeed, and I want to be there for that succession.
Mm-hmm.
And that's really where that community comes in. That's them interacting with the community. That's having a place to be there with the community. That's having somewhere to talk to them, having somewhere to be part of that show.
Yes.
So you can share in that success. And that's where you go from just, something to do to a sport.
I would 100% agree with that. And Buster asked in chat, is this whole channel for Wildstar? Yes, we are a channel dedicated to Wildstar, and pretty much anything Wildstar related. Yes, Shrieks, you have a question.
No, I was just imitating the statue.
Shrieks, Wildstar.
Well, yes, it was just Wildstar. I was just trying to diversify the audience.
No!
Yes.
This is Shriggs. He's the guy that usually gets us off topic a lot, and he's pretty much the show derailer. So
the show is better for it.
That's probably true. Anyway, but okay. So as far as community goes, Shriggs, why is it important for an esports community to have a loyal following of their esports community, I guess?
Well, the answer is quite simple. If they don't, it dies.
And why? Okay.
That is the only result of not having a strong, loyal fan base that gets on their Twitter and their Facebook and their YouTubes and posts about all these great videos that people can go watch, and these live events they need to go see, and these crazy people that play tons and tons of video games and are really good at it, then they need to follow. If they don't have that, they don't have a scene, and it dies.
Okay. So, playing devil's advocate here. Blizzard has a huge scene in World of Warcraft. A huge scene.
It also has to be good.
Okay, well, why did their scene die? And don't just say because it has to be good. I know you're the king of short answers, but...
Why did what die?
Why did the scene of World of Warcraft arenas die, in your opinion?
Crappy balance. People got fed up with it, and I don't think Blizzard supported it enough, honestly. It's like, it's got to be a community thing, but the company has to come in and throw in a few things, too. It's like, the only tournaments I ever really saw were, there was like one Blizzard sanctioned thing, and then everything else was community-driven.
I mean, like, I think that has a lot to do with what I was just talking about before. I mean, name one professional World of Warcraft eSports player.
That's a good point. Yeah,
you don't know because they're not humanized, and I mean, they focus that attention on it. I mean, you can bloody well buy trading cards for StarCraft esports guys. So I mean, like that, and that's where you start. That's something I think if you're gonna want to do something with Wildstar, if you wanna bring forth an esports community, you start off by making the game accessible. The competition accessible. I shouldn't say the game. Game is something that Carbide's doing, but the competition accessible. So you want to make.
There you go.
Yeah, that took you a long time.
I had a brain fart. It's like, I knew him, and it was like, he's a paladin, and he also has a druid, and he's swift.
Swifty! Anyway, continue, Tyrus.
But yeah, so like you've gotta have a place for people to interact with the person behind the screen, and I mean, and I think, and that's where it's gonna start. Like, it's gonna be a website. I mean, if you're gonna talk about like sports communities, I mean, take Day 9. Like,
Yeah.
and part of what makes this community isn't just that he was casting games, like StarCraft games, all games, and things like that. I mean, it's about the fact that he has a forum up and he's interacting with his community, he's talking to them, and then he's like, hey, what do you guys want me to do this week? And they're all like, yeah, do this, and so he does. He freaking plays a video game for a whole night, and all of his fans watch it, and that's giving them agency towards what they're doing. Whereas that I just don't feel like that exists in that community. I mean, like StarCraft.
Right.
You can go on to StarCraft 2 right now and download one of the professional games, and then fast forward into a point in the game, and then hit play, and then play as one of your pros and see if you could do better than them.
Yeah.
You can't do that in that system. And so, like, I mean, that's where it's succeeding and others are failing. So what makes Wildstar potential community possible? Well, I mean, it's going to really depend on how people can consume the media and how people can consume the fame.
Mm-hmm.
Like, and that's really the most important part, the fame. Like, how are we going to make players seem awesome?
Famous?
And how are you going to want to be? How are you going to want to be one of those people? And what's going to make you want to? And I think it's possible because Wildstar has the skill that attributed to how you play the game. I mean, Guild Wars was, but it was still a very much tab targeted game, and this just takes tab targeting and throws it out the window. I mean, even the Esper is tab targeted, but like not really.
Right.
So I mean, that's going to bring a lot back into the game where it's more like an FPS. And I mean, let's take FPSs right now, like the Battlefield community. Like,
yes.
How does that be a community? How do you know professional players that do that? How do you know how that works? And I mean, that's going to be a lot more similar to this than maybe say WoW, because I mean, we're getting into a system where it's going to be more arena based.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe TFT would be another good example.
Yeah, I think that the FPS kind of community is also a very, very good example of what to do right and what to do wrong. I mean, I think what you were saying, Tyramus, is humanizing all the players that you're watching. That is the biggest kind of portion in whoever is going to be leading this bandwagon is going to have to try and figure out. Because I think that if we look at it, I think that Valve probably has done the humanization of players the absolute best. Because if you look at them, they always have them on screen. They're always giving them interviews. They're always like advertising themselves, and like the players make a bunch of goofy videos, and they play it during the internationals and everything else. So it's just, I think that. Go ahead. Yes.
What do you like? What do you like about hockey or football? Like how is it? I don't watch.
Yeah.
Like, I watch eSports, but like I know that like when you watch sports, and one of the traditional methods for people to get invested in them was the trading card thing. I mean, what they did is they went out and they made people have something that they could do on their own without having to be in the game, and then be part of the whole process. And that process is that connection towards individuals. I mean, it's a team game. When you're working with a team, I mean, it doesn't really matter. I mean, as a football team, I mean, I can't think of an individual player, but I mean, he's off on the side and he's doing his thing. And I mean,
right.
Why would you care about that one person over everybody else? I mean, it's together they win, not this one guy. But they do a really good job of segregating those two ideas. And so with StarCraft, this is a good example, because you have a team, because you have a whole race that you play with all these different characters and classes and things like that. And I mean, like, and that's where your focus is. Your focus isn't on the actual person. So what are you going to do to bring that person to the front of the ground? I mean, you put their video up, you're going to have interviews, you're going to have trading cards, and you're going to do all those things. And that's not being done by Blizzard. Like when they're choosing the game to put their money into, they've chosen StarCraft, and they're not doing it. Like, and they do the tournament side by side with their BlizzCon, but not really anywhere else. Like, it's not really a big thing. But League of Legends, they do it though. I mean, you look at them, and you can think about a League of Legends player, and you don't instantly go, that character's the character's name. No, you think of the person and their handle, and you're like, that is that guy.
Yeah.
And I want to watch them play. Doesn't matter what character they play. I want to watch them play because they're good.
Yeah.
And that's where you bring that back in. And I'm curious. I've never been really involved in this kind of thing, so I mean it's going to be interesting if we can push this kind of a community with
Yes.
Wildstar. But I think with the arenas they're putting in, with the the abilities that they're putting in, we have the possibility. But that's going to revolve a lot around
The
like
community.
people who are playing the game, the community, quote unquote. We've been throwing that word around a lot, and throwing up forums, throwing up things, and then having that discussion publicly about who's going to do what, and then show up and do it together.
Right.
I mean, because that's where you get that talk back and forth, and
Yes.
that's what brings a step from consuming something that's just entertainment to being part of that entertainment.
All right. Shrix, go ahead.
Gary just gave me a great idea.
Yes.
What Blizzard needs to do is take some of their best StarCraft players and Warcraft players and then turn them into playable Hearthstone cards.
It's so random.
No, it's brilliant. It's taking the baseball card thing and then applying it to Hearthstone. It's
not
genius.
a bad idea.
It's not a bad
I
idea.
don't know if they'd ever do that, but it's not a bad idea.
They made the Leroy Jenkins card.
Yeah, but that's iconic.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, yeah,
But then
Leroy
they merge
Jenkins.
the two things
Yeah.
together, and then they expand the shoutcasting
Card pool.
viewer-based community.
Okay. Well, I mean, like what we've covered a bunch of these topics.
Yeah, I mean, okay, so I think that in kind of closing with this whole thing, I think that the best thing for Carbine to take away with this whole esports thing, and Buster, I appreciate the kind words. I really do. Thank you very much. And I think the best thing to take away is community, be professional, don't be a dick, and let your players and non-Carbine staff push the esports scene.
Yeah, I mean, like, yeah. I mean, this is just it. It's not just about Carbine taking away from this. It's all of us taking away from this. What are we going to do to make this happen? Because, I mean, like, it doesn't matter whether or not Carbine does anything or not. I mean, they will pick up speed and probably help us out if they realize that there is a following. Yeah. But, I mean, at the end of the day, we're the ones that have to make everybody show up to the party. Like,
No, it's very true. I mean, if we're not pushing it, and we throw a party and don't show up, then we're gonna lose respect as an esports scene or whatever you want to call it. So, anything else before we move on? I think that's gonna be everything. Shriggs, you had some interesting patch notes emailed to you directly from Carbine and Stefan Frost himself about peace plots.
We could do that,
yes.
Or we could go on to the other segment we have.
No, we're not going to go on to that segment because that was a joke.
No.
Freaking troll.
I think
No.
we should.
No.
No, 2v1?
No, just
no.
Shriggs.
Okay.
What is peace plots, and what did Carbine reveal to you, sir?
Well, Carbine is making some new modifications to the war plots based on viewer demand.
Okay.
We'll call it demand. More like 5 people complaining on the forums and emailing them constantly.
Sure.
So, let's go through this. First note, all terrain has been flattened. Because apparently these 5 people have been just complaining about how unfair the line of sight is, and they've been getting blocked and they can't see people running at them, so they get ambushed. So all terrain, gone. Flat.
Okay.
Also, textures removed. Because why the hell not? It's flat. Now it's all going to be white in a grid.
Okay.
It's going to look like it was in alpha.
Your skills get reset at the beginning of the match.
Okay.
And skill number 1 that's on your thing is negotiation.
Okay.
You press it, and your character stands there doing emotes for 5 minutes. If your emotes succeed, you're allowed to throw 1 disagreement, and that'll stun the other player.
Okay.
And from then on, you're allowed to pull out your pen and paper and start writing down your agreement notes.
I got a few more notes here, so let's get through this.
All right.
Number 2. Warplot walls no longer have collision. The plugs on the warplot itself are now just for show. You can't... The plugs don't do anything, the walls do nothing, you can walk right through them. Number 3. The only way to win is to starve out the enemy of... No, what? Never mind. On second thought, no more resources, it's just deathmatch.
Okay.
So that's all gone. Screw that.
Okay.
Number 4. Because people have been whining about class balance, all players will convert to a single class at the beginning of each game, and it'll be based on whatever everyone thinks is overpowered during a current patch cycle.
Okay.
So if everyone's complaining about espers on the forums, when you go into a war plot, you're an esper.
Okay. That's awesome.
And because people have been complaining that we don't let you use costumes in battlegrounds, no, know what? Screw that. This note is for us and not for you. From now on, all players will wear matching uniforms to represent whichever side of the map they're on. The uniform will be unique to the terrain we place on each side. Happy now? And the best part is, now the terrain is flat and blank, so imagine what you're going to be wearing.
That's actually
It's going to be the black alpha blocks for things that don't have textures yet.
That's actually kind of cool, though.
So, I hope you're happy. You did this to us. It's all ruined.
Okay.
It's all...
Okay. Well, thank you, Shriggs, for sharing the new peace plots coming up in a later patch.
We just wanted a cool 80-man thing.
Anyway, all right, guys, that's going to be the show. So thank you very much for watching. You can follow us on Twitter at ChallengeFailed. Facebook and a website are going to be pretty even across the board. It's going to be facebook.com/ChallengeAccptd. No E's and Accepted. ChallengeAccptd.com. No E's and Accepted as well. And that's it. That's all. Thank you very much for watching and listening. Do appreciate the activity in chat there. God bless. Take care of everybody. See you tomorrow. Beta weekend. Take care. Goodbye.